square, whatever it becomes, is the number that goes into the root that gets you back to the number that you started with. So some instructors, like you just mentioned, they want you to know these up to a certain number, okay? And those are all perfect, those are all nice here. But what if I ask you to do something like this, the square root of 12? This is not a perfect square. A perfect square root. What do you remember what to do in this case, or have any idea how to proceed?
I don't think so.
Okay. You start by building either what's called a factor tree or a factor ladder. Have you seen that before? Heard of that before?
Probably. I don't know if I've heard it by that exact name, but I mean,
Okay, so let me show you here. We're going to start with prime numbers. Okay, so prime numbers, the smallest prime number is 2, 3, 5, and so on. 12 is divisible by 2. 2 times 6 gets you back to 12. Do you agree with that?
yeah.
And you try 2 again. You're like, all right, 2 and 3.
Okay,
That
yeah,
works.
I have seen this,
Oh,
yeah.
good, good. So the next part here is you circle pairs, okay? So any pairs, matching pairs, okay? Any pairs come out. So a 2 is going to come out. And whatever is not a pair on the leaves is going to stay in. So this 3 is going to stay in. So your answer has this form where there's a part that's out and there's a part that's in or under the root, okay? And you can see here pretty quickly, I think, that the part that comes out is the 2. There's 1, 2 that comes out, and a 3 that stays in. Okay, now the idea here is that for each pair, only one number comes out. Okay, so if even though there's 2 here, only 1 comes about, but it's gone. Any questions on that before we do another example here?
No, not yet.
Okay, so let's look at the square root of 20. Okay, does 2 go into 20?
Yeah,
2 times 10. Does 2 go into 10?
yeah.
2 and 5. Now I mentioned earlier that the prime numbers 2, 5, 7, 11, 13, these go on forever. You don't need to know them that high though. You need to know a few though, because you need to know when to stop. You need to be like, all right, well, am I done? Basically. And the reason you're done is because there's prime numbers all the way on the edges here. So again, you circle pairs. So again, there's a pair of 2s. Okay, pair of 2s. So 2 comes out. 5 stays in. Okay. Now, in terms of how you write your answer, it's 2 square root of 5. So that pair comes out, the 5 stays in. All right. So if you have a piece of paper there handy, I'm going to ask you to try another one here. I'm going to leave this example up. It's really no different than the one I just gave you, except it's different numbers. It's almost the exact same factoring, except for one number. Will you give this one a try on your own, please?
Yeah.
How are you doing on this one?
I know, wait, I know that 7 goes into it 4 times.
Did you try 2 though? Did you start with 2?
No.
Okay, so you have to start with the smallest prime number. Like that's just the
Okay.
requirement. You must, you must do it this way. So 2 times what number gets you back to 28?
14.
14, good. And just like in real life, if something works, you try it again. Does 2 work with 14?
Yeah.
It sure
7
does.
times.
7 times. Now on the leaves, on the edges here, they're all prime numbers, so you stop. So what number am I going to write outside parentheses?
2.
And what number goes under?
7.
7. You got it. Okay. Very good. All right. So let me have you try another one here. Did you get this copy down in your notes?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me have you try another one here. You have to start with 2.
Okay.
Okay. So give that one a try.
All right. I think I did it.
Okay. What is your well, let me actually work it out here. Did you get 2 and 22?
Yeah.
2 and 11?
Yep.
So 2 squared 11 is your final answer?
Yeah.
Good, very good. Okay. Now you might get the impression that, okay, it's always going to work out that it's a 2. And the answer to that is that no, it's not going to always be 2. Let's look at square root of 45. Does 2 go into 45?
No.
It is not even, it's odd, so 2 does not work. 3 does though. So you always move, you basically say, okay, did it work? Or am I done with it? And then you go to the next one. So 3 works. 3 times 15, 3 and 5. So again, there's a pair. So it's got to be a matching pair. It can't just be anything that you think is a pair. It has to be the exact same numbers. 3 square root of 5. All right, but let's do another example. Let's look at the square root of 18. Let me know when you're ready for us to do that.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. So you start with 2 again, 2 and 9, and then 3 and 3. So it's also not the case that the pairs come out first. You might find that the pair is down below, and the non-pair is, it doesn't really matter. You just have to get a pair. So this would be 3 square root of 2. Okay, so the
Okay.
pair can come wherever. You just have to know where to look for it. Okay. Now, unfortunately, the numbers just get bigger from here. Like we've kind of exhausted all the, the simple ones, but let's there's a few other things to consider here. Let's look at like the square root of 20. Okay. Does I'm sorry, we already did this one. Sorry, chose the wrong one here. Let's look at the square root of 30. Okay. Does 2 go into 30?
I think so.
Yes, 2 and 15. Okay.
Yeah.
Does 2 go into 15? You try it again. Does that work?
No.
No. What is the next prime number after 2 that you try?
3.
3. Does 3 work?
Yeah.
3 and 5. So we're in good shape here. Now, are there any pairs?
No.
No, it's like I got a blue sock, a green sock, and a red sock, and they just, none of them match up. So there's nothing to do. So in this case, it all stays under the square root. You go back to 2 times 3 times 5, which is the square root of 30. So sometimes, like, it just doesn't work. Okay. All right, let's do another example here. So let's look at like the square root of 8. Tell me what number to try first.
2.
2. You always try 2. 2 times 4. Does 2 work again?
Yeah.
2 and 2. Circle the pairs. What number comes outside of the square root this time?
2.
And what's inside the root?
2.
The other 2. Yeah, very good. Okay, so let's have you try this one. Square root of 27. Ask me questions if there's anything that's unclear about it, or anything you're not sure about.
I got 3, square root of 3.
Very good. Very good. Okay, awesome. So we're just going to increase the difficulty here a little bit. We'll look at the next example together. Let's say it's the square root of 72. Okay, so you always start with 2, very repetitive. 2 and 36. 2 and 18. 2 and 9. 3 and 3. Okay. Again, I don't expect you to be this fast, but I mean, if you have a calculator in your lap, you can divide or quickly do this. That's important here. But the key is to recognize now the pairs. Do you see any pairs of numbers here?
Yeah. I
Tell
see
me.
2 2s and 2 3s.
Now, you've noticed I've been circling them the whole time. I strongly recommend you do that because you can easily miss out. You also want to indicate the one that is not a pair, so you know where it goes. Now, this is where sometimes students have questions is like, well, what do I do with the 2 numbers that are coming out? Well, you multiply them, and you may not know why. We could talk about that, but you are multiplying the numbers that come out. The numbers that are on the inside, if there's only one, they just remain. Or like we saw in an earlier problem, if there's more than one number on the inside, you do multiply them. So this becomes 6 square root 2. Now it is also the case. Okay, sorry, do you have a question?
No.
Okay, now it's also the possibility that you could have more than one pair of the same numbers. So I'd like you to try this one and let me know if you see more than one pair of the same number. I'm just going to step away for 30 seconds. I got to check something on my stove. I'll be right back.
All right.
How are you doing on this one?
Good. Okay. What do you do if you have 2 pairs of the same number? Do you still multiply them?
You still multiply them and they still come out. So you circle the pairs. For each one, a 2 comes out.
Yeah.
So it's 2 times 2. That's for the ones that come out. Square root of whatever's left over there. Any questions on that?
No.
All right, let's look at one more before we maybe switch to a new topic. So the square root of 200 here, the numbers do get quite large, but because you're dividing, they can reduce fairly quickly, okay? 2 and 100, 2 and 50, 2 and 25. You get down to 25. Maybe you know the square root of 25, but keep going with your list. 3 does not work, but 5 does. So again, you have 2 pairs. What would the final answer look like here for this one?
Yeah. 10 square root of 2.
You got it. All right, so here, let me give you one more to try on your own. Just make this one a little bit more difficult. All right, yeah, so here's one I'd like you to try. Leave this stuff up. Square root of 180. Okay, it's kind of like this one we just done, but you can take a look at that.
Okay. I don't know if I did something wrong.
Okay, let's start here. 2 and 90. Okay.
Okay,
Did
yeah.
you, did you get that?
Yeah. And I got 9 and 10.
2 and
Oh,
45. So you got to start with 2 again. You got like you
oh,
exhaust 2 until it doesn't work.
okay.
It's
That's
it's
what it is.
it's late. Yeah, there's so many analogies we can make, but you keep trying something until it doesn't work. So then 3 and 15, 3 and 5. So based on this here, why don't you give me your final answer for that, please, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I got square or 6 square root of 5.
Yes, very good. Very good. Okay, let's see if we can get one more in here of this type here. Just want to see if I can find one that's a little more challenging like we've been doing here. You just keep trying the number until it doesn't work anymore. And let me see if I can just check this one. All right, so let's do this one here. Let's have you try the square root of 108. And again, just try 2 until it doesn't work anymore.
All right.
You have a final answer for me on this one?
I got 6 square root of 3.
That is correct.
All right.
Very good. I'll just quickly work this out here in case you want to look at it later. You don't have your notes. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us for today. I'm going to stop the recording right here. Is Mom around to give her some feedback and talk about